We will have them be guests at Kir Sabal upon your return. It's probably like 4 or 5 days journey to Nanglor and kind of your return there. And we will have the to be guests as Kir Sabal, and you all can kind of join up there. But the actual monastery is on the side of a cliff. The first level kind of sits about 150 feet over the cliff floor. The second level is about 600 or so, and the highest level is about 750, 800. But this whole cliff face overlooks the Knee Wastes, which is effectively a bog kind of left behind from the destruction of Rasni's castle. A little stonework remains. What does remain doesn't even necessarily show you a framework of the old castle. It is far more just a blighted, just open wasteland. It is all very much kind of swamped out. It is all very dangerous. One of the kind of not necessarily highest quantity of undead, as the monks do a lot to fight the undead. That's kind of their their reason to be is cleansing the undead. But at the same time, this is the location that was kind of central to Rosny before his fall. So this area is among the worst kind of locations here. Um, Most humanoids who are kept inside of Kir Sabal, they don't really watch you. They kind of have you do general like housekeeping kind of work, but in the long run, it is so vastly dangerous to kind of move from place to place that more or less they just keep you by having you just up this high in the mountains. About the only rule that does kind of hold is effectively nobody is allowed beyond the actual like ritual cleansing room, which for what it is worth, I'd say these two are not necessarily even brought into yet. But we can kind of pick up with as the party finds their way back to Kir Sabal. The oops, as the party finds their way back to Kir Sabal, you will be greeted by Nephir kind of flying back down to you all, eventually returning with a few more of the Aarakocra and kind of ushering everybody up into the sky and off towards the living quarters. And we'll just say when you all are brought to the quarters you stayed in, that's where you will meet the other two adventurers here. And with that moment, can I just have you all kind of do a um, just description of what you look like? You're not necessarily describing things like hidden about your character, just like a first impression as somebody sees you. If we can start with Yarrick and then go to Island, we'll do it like that and have everybody kind of introduce as effectively you're going to see um, one of the Aarakocra kind of bringing these people up. And this will be Nephir, who is kind of like a blue and orange feathered humanoid, stands about 5 feet tall, wings that have a span about 7 or so feet, um, more or less very brightly colored. His clothes themselves are almost kind of like a sky blue kind of gray. They are much less regal than perhaps the colors of his feathering. Um, Overall, for everyone's sake, you would probably see two Aarakocra in this whole place that are colorful. Most of the other ones tend to be grays, whites, and blacks. So the coloring on Nephir does set him out at least a little bit. There is only one other Aarakocra here that has coloring, and that is Asharra. But with that, with the introduction up for you all, can I go to a description from Jarek?
Sure. So as Jarek is brought up, you would see he's human, um, maybe a little under 6 feet tall, pretty solidly built, lean but wiry. Looks like he's in pretty good shape. Seems to be about 30, maybe late 20s, early 30s. Black hair that's kind of grown a bit longer than is probably he's probably used to keeping it. It looks a bit shaggy and unkempt. Green eyes. He's wearing some studded leather armor, which looks to be in pretty bad shape. There's some pretty deep gouges, and some of the studs look like they've kind of been like ripped off a bit. So you can tell he's definitely kind of been in the thick of it. He's got a short bow, quiver, arrows slung over his back, a couple different weapons at his belt, including a rather ornate looking, what appears to be just the hilt of a weapon. Um, he's got laden down with a couple backpacks. One of them had fuller than the other, but yeah, I think that's what you get from a just a physical look.
And Island is right behind Jarek. He's 6 foot human, rail thin, dirty, worn, covered in mud. He's got a wry grin of surprise, but really not surprise on his face. He's wearing studded leather armor in a dirty green color, and he's got a holy symbol of Saloon prominently on his chest. And he's carrying a somewhat ancient mace. He's pretty weighed down by his packs. You can see he's tall and wiry, but not terribly strong.
Gotcha. So one of the other figures you are going to see approaching is a shorter person who's pretty tiny, about 3 feet tall, pretty kind of young looking, very kind of was it elastic skin, still very young, almost looks like a child for many people. Uh, Seems to be wearing leather of sorts, has probably more gear in their backpack than they actually carry. Overall, doesn't appear to be carrying um, much for weaponry. At this point, seems to have a flute and a short bow across their back. And I think that pretty well describes him. Big old chops. I feel like his chops are definitely a sweet part of that character. And then there is a female tall figure who I think rivals. Oh no, she's actually about 5 foot tall, pretty light and stringy kind of figure. More or less just wearing robes and has a kind of golden diadem that is almost woven into her hair, that is kind of flowering with a like rose petals, like budding roses kind of flow through the diadem. Carries a crossbow across her back, plenty of gear in backpacks. And that pretty much covers the rest of the group at this point. Can we get an initial description of Dvol?
Okay, so Duvall, male, green eyes, medium size. Height is about 5 feet 10 inches. Uh, Dark olive drab skin and black hair. Looks about maybe pushing around 25. Average weight, you could probably guess about 180, 190. Um, and he does carry the symbol of the Raven Queen on his belt, and but no shirt, dark trousers. and like cloth that's wrapped around his midsection that goes to about his ankles.
Excellent. And then how about for Vale?
Yes, sitting at a table, you see a shadowy feline capacity character, black of just a slight bluish gray ruff, and icy blue eyes. She is wearing supple, worn but cared for leathers. She over the back she is carrying a short bow. And also has a fencing foil. She moves very precisely, certain elegance to her, but you can also tell she's used to the ways of the jungle. So there, obvious like stains and everything from having been in the jungle. And I did want to ask real quickly. I am still reading as Chris rather than my character name, and when I try and open my character in 20, I'm getting the usual 20 Geomancer, not my D&D Beyond character. So I'm not sure if that's something on my end or
Everything
what.
is done on D&D Beyond. You just need that token, and you can change the token over to say Vale. But like Roll20 is just for dice rolling and like strategic battle maps.
Okay, so I mean, where do I do that? Because I'm not sure. Do I do that in Roll20 or do I do that in D&D?
I switched it, so now it says Vale. If you click on your D&D Beyond character initiative, it's going to roll the die over on Roll20. That's what Beyond 20 does for us.
A character
I think
sheet
that's.
Veil here still. Um,
Did you install Beyond 20? It's the third link that I sent to you. Works for Firefox, Google Chrome. You got something like Brave that uses Chrome. You just use the Chrome one, and it's just an extension that will create like a little red bee. And when you're on Roll20, the bee is in the bottom right. If you have it show up by extensions, it is always in the top right, regardless of what page you're on.
not seeing it show up here. Let me try and go full screen here.
So in Chrome, under extensions in the top right, it should look like a little puzzle piece. And I think if you click the pin, that will make sure that it always shows up there. But once you have Beyond 20 set, that will make all of your rolls from D&D Beyond come to Roll20.
Okay, let me. I will. And hopefully can fix it. Please don't let me hold you up.
So as you all arrive and return, Nepier is going to pause for a few moments. I feel like on some level it would be perfectly viable for the conversation to have happened elsewhere, but I don't necessarily want to hold the group apart. So at some point upon kind of landing you all, offering you kind of niceties, like if you have any desire for something to eat, if you would like to wash, kind of these few moments of like almost seeing like, do you care to take time to yourselves, or do you were you able do you have the orchid?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We have the orchid. Jack, show him the orchid.
It came at a bit of a cost, but yes, we have it, and and he would kind of take it out and almost kind of holding it very uh, like delicately, like it's fragile. He'll kind of hold it out to display it to Nephir and to the others that they've now met, Dvol and Vale.
All things come at a great cost. Have you ever flown before?
Can't say I have.
Just in my
Perhaps
dreams.
you will find flying is worth the cost that you paid. Otherwise, perhaps you should not have gone through with the bargain. So after a few moments, he'll kind of like return to the idea like they effectively eat kind of vegetarian food. So you guys have like almost kind of like a tapas style of kind of like um, different like flatbreads, different like we'll go with cheeses. Perhaps some of them are seitan and it's a little bit more of like a bean curd. But they kind of have this like presentation of more or less vegetable dishes that are all kind of like cold set across a tray. Maybe almost like an Ethiopian style where you have kind of like some soggy breads that you use to kind of like pinch these different almost like stewed very sweet on some, very spicy on others, all very colorful dishes, all kind of set out on like a large platter and pretty much eaten from the ground. There's not really like furniture so much as there are like the actual like beds where you can kind of lay in this place. It is a very austere life. But he kind of presents you with these things as a bit of a nicety, and it certainly is a step up from the kind of tasteless gruel that Eku is able to summon. And he is going to step away to. I must return to Asharra, and I will tell her you have presented the orchid to me, and we will decide shortly what our actions will be. If you all would like to take time to yourselves, when should I call on you? So, if you're more or less kind of midday here, having traveled back, do you want time to yourselves? Or would you all kind of say, like, as soon as you can, we would like to see Ashara?
Yeah, as soon as possible for me. What about you, Jarek?
An hour or so to freshen up and perhaps speak a bit with our new friends here might be helpful, but I don't want to hold anything up. So
Yeah, so he'll kind of look off behind himself, kind of like out into the sky, and more or less locate the sun. Take a few moments, and when the sun is to 70 degrees in the day, I will return for you, and we will progress from there. And it basically gives you like an estimate, like an hour to 2 hours. Probably closer to like an hour, 15 minutes, or an hour and a half. Um, but it gives you guys some time here. He is going to raise out his wings and pretty much fly. Yeah, I think at this point he is going to return to the bathhouse, to the ritual cleansing. And you will see that he flies off to the east there.
so Jarek will kind of like bid him, we'll see you soon, and then he'll spend grab a little bit more to eat again because it's definitely more flavorful than what they're used to on the out in the jungle except on the occasions when they're able to procure some fresh meat. Um, Kind of feeling his second wind coming back as he's able to take a load off for a little bit.
And are we with our new companions in our space?
Yes, you are.
Well, I'll certainly introduce myself because I am curious about the two of you. I'm Island, and this is Jarek, and we're on a bit of a mission, to conquer the jungle. What are you guys doing here?
I am Vale. I am pleased to meet you. These avian hosts, the Arakakra, have a mission that I share, which is to rid these jungles of the undead. And though they watch well from the skies under the jungle canopy, they have had me here to help with that. And your coming has been foretold by them to me. They told me that you would soon be returning, and that perhaps I might help you in your future endeavors.
Yes, well, if you're looking to kill undead, I think you'll find no shortage of them if you travel with us. So,
That is
you look like
good. Um, they have become a little scarce in this area.
yes. Well, we'd be glad to have you with us. You certainly look like you can take care of yourself. And how about you, Devol?
Oh, the ball, he stands up, takes a bow. Gracious, gracious, my friends. Gracious, my friends. Thank you. Uh, I have not have any lofty goals as my friend next to me, but I'm in between jobs. This seems like it'd be interesting. Um, you said you're dealing with undead.
Among other things, um, and interesting is certainly a word for it. Uh, yes, undead, deadly plants, deadly animals. It seems like just about everything in this jungle wants to kill us, but so far we've managed to avoid that fate. Some of us, at least.
We've been promised gargoyles, right? I can't wait to see them.
Oh, gargoyles. He sits here and rubs his hands together and go, great. Gargoyles and undead. Ah, my lady is has a spawn hatred of gargoyles and I mean of undead, and I wish to make sure the undead stay dead. So yes, that'll be interesting. Good thing my lady showed me to come to this place. Um, are you a mercenary band? I do not see any symbols on you at all. Mercenaries?
No, not mercenaries per se. We have a patron who's put us to work, but we've sort of come together from various corners for that job. I am pledged to the Church of Saloon, where I study various things. They send me on missions to collect artifacts. And coming to Cholt was certainly on their list and a great opportunity for me. But I've worked before with Jarek, and yeah, we're a loose group.
Good. Then maybe I can convince us in the near future to form our own mercenary group. That'll be great. I'm tired of working for the man. Maybe you guys will be more interesting.
It's ambitious.
Yes, work for the dwarves. Only thing they can do is drink.
After probably about 5 or 10 minutes of you all being left alone after Nafir leaves, you're going to hear kind of like dun 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 dun, and then at the door of the little housing that you all are in, you are going to see a small child who has very much handmade wings on. And while they extend out a little bit longer than perhaps his arms, they more or less look up and give him at least the slightest bit of a chance that he kind of rubs on the top of the door sill as he enters. But those of you who have seen him before will recognize that this is Prince Na, the little 6-year-old boy, and he's going to kind of run into the area with a little start. He's going to look to you all and kind of yell out with a little bit of glee. Did you go to Nangalore? You've returned? Did you get it? I heard you were back.
We did indeed, my prince, and might I say those are some mighty fine wings. You're not planning on.
I can't fly. They're fake. I made them.
Very
And
good.
he's just
Yeah,
gonna like kind of like shudder his shoulder a little bit to show him that like he can kind of move it, but it doesn't flap.
yeah. And as he's saying that, Jarek is like recalling, like, oh yeah, this is a pretty smart kid. He doesn't have to worry that he's gonna go jumping off a balcony thinking those wings will work.
Wax and I said you all weren't going to return, that you all were going to die in the jungle, and that the Nangalore was going to eat you, and you would never return. I told her you would be back. I said you all were special.
Well, your faith in us is inspiring, and I, for one, am glad you were right.
Can I see it? Do you still have it?
We don't have it on us, but I'm sure Island here could probably at least sketch you fairly decent facsimile.
He's like charging at Island with the very like note of sketch, and he's just going to kind of like leap onto you, either just kind of holding onto your torso, or if you're sitting down, like onto your lap. And he's just sitting there like waiting for you to draw him a picture now.
You know what? It looks like we lost Larry again.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was just a flavor, anyways. For what it's worth, you don't have to roleplay with that NPC.
But yeah, and then Jarek would, he'd also kind of gesture to the prince and introduce him to Dval and uh, Vale as well, and say these two are going to be joining us in our adventures.
I have seen you around, young prince. It is good to make your acquaintance again.
It's good that you all have company. Everybody should travel through the jungle with a full group. You need more people, because that way when people die, there's still people to. It's good to have a full group.
Yes, one finds that there's much attrition in the jungle, and so the more the merrier, as they say.
So, do we know about you saving the kid and everything, other than outside?
So this is not the so we didn't save the prince. I think the prince has been here at Kir Sabal for I don't know if we know exactly how much time, but Nephir the Aarakocra, that's who we saved.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, from what you all would have heard in the description of their kind of timeline, the parents made it to Kir Sabal. I think one of them might have died trying to get here, which would put it as the mother was killed in an attack by Terrafolk after giving birth to Na. but he is pretty much only known this kind of cliffside world of living with the Aarakocra. Um, Moaxinair is a little bit more likely to perhaps have been on the run through the jungle. But I think they even leave that as well, kind of generic, whether she has only known Kir Sabal or whether as a child she was kind of with her parents. But more or less it's kind of like vaguely left it. At very least, Nah only has known this world.
Okay. So I look down at the kid and I just cock an eye, and this is wow. Yes, you do have a point, young man. It is safety to travel in numbers. Yes.
Well, I suggest perhaps we try and get a bit of rest if we can before we hopefully learn that they'll agree to perform this ritual for us. I've little doubt that we'll get little chance for much rest once we start making our way back to start making our way to Omu.
The ritual is not going to be conducted here.
I believe in Kir Sabal, yes, I'm not sure where precisely. We've only seen a small portion of the monastery ourselves.
They're gonna take you to the temple. I already heard Asharra and Nephir talking about it. That's why I came down here. I could tell that you were back, but they're trying to discuss whether they should take you to the temple. But the dance can only be done in the temple, but people who aren't part of the order are not supposed to be in the temple. So they're kind of in a bind, but they're gonna take you to the temple because the dance is more important than whether worrying about whether you guys are actually from here or not. So they're going to take you to the temple. You're pretty much going to have to start going through the ritual cleansing pretty soon here.
So we are going into the temple, and you know this for sure because you overheard them. You know it's not polite to eavesdrop, right?
It's not eavesdropping when it's kind of my kingdom, so I kind of belong everywhere and everybody else is in my home. So it's really none of your business whether I hear stuff or not because I'm your prince.
Okay, but are you a member?
Uh huh. Yep.
Okay,
And he's
but
going to kind of point like almost directly overhead. I live up there.
okay. Shaking my head. Okay. Taking advice from a kid. Okay.
How old is he approximately?
He is a tiny little child. He is probably, for most people's sake, between 4 and 6 years old. As far as how he acts, in many ways, childlike. In many ways, he is far too intelligent.
Average kid of that age.
Yeah, pretty precocious from what we've only met him once before, but he seems like pretty smart for his age, or very smart for his age. And I think and Jarek would also take the time to warn assuming that Duvall and Bale haven't met his sister yet, he would maybe try quietly so that hoping that um, Prince Na doesn't overhear, but kind of just warn them to be a little, that his sister's is much more formal and just be mindful of your manners when if we meet her.
Yeah, you can definitely grab up a moment where he's having Island draw the Black Orchid, um, and his attention is pretty much entirely uh, taken over by this drawing and Island to where you can kind of like share that information.
good manners are always advisable anyway.
Come on, Atlan's got a pocket full of crocodile teeth that he brought back for the jungle for Prince Na that he wants to lay on him. So I think I can keep him distracted.
I take your meaning and I understand what you're saying.
So at some point after you all kind of progress through, Na is going to leave as kind of everybody's like slows down and more or less like rests. He will very quickly kind of become bored of these things, and you will just hear a little pitter patter as he kind of like walks away, and you'll hear like little bits of him jumping across the different parts of the actual like decking around here, before you kind of hear the door off to the east as he enters back into the ritual chamber. And sometime later, you all will once again be called upon by Nephir, who will bring you all into the actual ritual cleansing chamber, and begin the kind of act of kind of walking you all through the process of effectively taking time to um, cleanse yourselves, and then kind of like shedding clothing to prepare ritually clean clothes, where you all will effectively be given like actual kind of like robes instead of your normal traveling clothes. Um, this will be another moment where they will kind of remind you there are no weapons beyond this point, as you are basically entering into this like holy area. But more or less, you are going to shed your clothes, wash in that bin, and then everybody is going to head up to the next level where you will be given new robes. And once you arrive at that next level, there's basically like a moment where they kind of almost like hit the cardinal directions, like as they burn like an incense, and not really like splash it on you, but they like smudge is like kind of an act of almost like waving it towards you, so it wafts the smoke over you, and then the smoke kind of like clings to your flesh, and kind of like moves about you that way. But they do this little ritual smudging, um, and in this actual chamber, each of you are going to basically be kind of knelt before a. It is a human size statue that is quite worn down, where it's difficult to kind of make out what it is. But if everybody can do a. Let's go for a perception check here as you each kind of pass by.
I still do not have a usable character sheet, unfortunately. I do have
It's on roll
D&D
20. It's on D&D Beyond. That is your character sheet. If you click on your character sheet on D&D Beyond, just roll a perception check.
Yeah, it's only giving me a character sheet, not my D&D Beyond character sheet, and the Rule 20 character sheet is not filled in.
You don't need a character sheet on roll 20. You don't have Beyond 20 installed. That's the only problem. But did you roll on D&D Beyond? It looks like you rolled a 17. Wait, no. Sea Fleet. That's Samos, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Are you on D&D Beyond right now, Chris? Can you hear me, Chris?
I can, yes, sorry, I forgot to.
Are you on D&D Beyond?
I
Do you see where it says perception?
am. Let me get to my character sheet here in D&D Beyond, sorry.
If you scroll over where it says perception, you should see a +4. If you scroll over where it says that, does it show you a little red die?
It does. Okay, so I just,
Bam. That is the entire game of how we played here. Everything is done from your D&D Beyond. D&D Beyond. It rolled those for us.
okay, I see
Um,
now, thank you.
So, as you all kind of go through this little process here, this statue is almost entirely kind of like white into almost being unidentifiable. Um, as far as things go, I think it's enough to say this island can pick up signs of this was a statue to Ubtoa. Only the faintest little remnants of this remain, because all are going to be instructed to kind of touch the statue as like one of the last parts of your actual ritual. And that's kind of the closest you will get to it. But this is kind of a moment in the cleansing where everyone touches it, and you can kind of get this perspective that, among other things, each bit of contact doesn't really damage stone, but over hundreds and thousands of years, perhaps it does smooth out stone in the same way water can kind of manipulate stone. And I think that's kind of the takeaway, that like Island and Duval will start to kind of gain a sense of what is happening here. To Jarek and Vale, it probably looks a little bit more like a human-sized pillar. If anybody knows kind of the Hermes statues that like Greece used in ancient Greek times. They had these Hermes statues that were at the edges of towns, and they were basically the head of Hermes, another anatomical part, and a distance. And this told you how far it was to the next city. And these were kind of like a very generic, just like pillar is effectively what it was. But it's like it would almost come off as that style of thing where it's like this is just like a pillar of stone. But to Island and Duval, I think they would kind of pick up that this is really ages of contact has slowly, moment by moment, kind of worn the stone to this smooth state. But each of you will be walked through this ritual as you are cleansed and brought up through the next level. You all will basically be kind of ushered by one monk, one at a time, up to the actual monastery above, where you all will each wait for the entire party to kind of come into this initial monastery location. But you are going to be brought into this is just kind of like a generic kind of like eatery. As far as things go, I think perhaps in the lower level before each of you disrobe, Nephir will kind of share like this process and kind of pass to you that as you are brought up into the monastery, you're going to be brought into the monks' communal room. And this is effectively a place where most of the monks live here while they are actually serving as monks. Even if their families are still down in the traditional living area, it's only while you are serving that you live here. And I believe they keep 6 monks kind of acting as the monastery at any given time. But he basically describes that this is where they kind of live during that time. But you all will slowly be brought up here. As everyone is ritually cleansed, you will all join. When you do arrive, Nephir will come last. Let me have everybody roll a d20. Easiest way to do simple d20s is to either \r space 1d20, or on the left side of roll 20, there's just a random die roller. And it just looks like the polyhedron of a d20. And you can select that to select a group of dice. Yeah. So if Jarek comes last, you'll see kind of as Nephir basically has you wait just like beyond the door. You'll see as he does the same process to kind of like smudge himself, perhaps before like I'd say that's more likely to be a veil than a door, but before that kind of like closes off. But you see that he like has you wait so he can kind of join you in the process basically of also cleansing himself. Um, but as you all are brought up into the monastery here, you will kind of wait for a certain amount of time where Nephir is kind of going to walk through the next kind of process of um, Shara will soon make the determination if she will do the dance for you to give you these powers that you seek. She is most interested in when perhaps you would be doing these actions. But perhaps of my own understanding, she is most interested in speaking to you about what you will be doing for the prince and the princess. It is our charge to protect them and protect the line of Chultan rulers. And while she is always hesitant, this is a great gift that she will bestow upon you of her own flesh. It is not lightly given to present you with the Dance of the Seven Winds. When Asharra does come, we will soon after bring in the princess, and of course, Na will probably be here momentarily. He is more than likely to arrive as soon as he hears that you are here. As far as things go, you all can have like a light little kind of like tea ceremony here. They do not have food currently prepared in this room. Probably waiting just a few minutes before Na hears about you. You'll see as he comes in, this time without his wings. He does seem to have a little bit nicer clothes on than you all have seen him previously, with kind of like a reddish purple robe kind of draped across him. He does seem to be in a little bit more of a ritual state here, and he's a little bit calmer, but still definitely moving with kind of like a spry action, as he's still kind of like almost leaping and skipping about. But he would come in from that southwestern door, and I think this room would get like a little sweep of kind of incense smells from the actual chapel, as well as a little bit of kind of wind blowing in as that door is open.
So you'll see Jarek is kind of he's acting more formally, I guess, now at this point, given that almost kind of if he's not like particularly religious, but he's kind of like he knows this is like kind of a formal. So he would like when Prince Not comes in, he would greet him kind of more but more formally than he's done in the past, kind of like with a nod um and kind of it's probably like a trying to like hide a small smile after hearing like Nephew was like he'll probably be here soon, and then again, of course, a couple minutes later, he actually does actually arrive. But he's trying to be pretty yeah, pretty like formal about the whole process.
So while you all wait for a little bit longer, you're going to hear uh, a chant from within the next room. Nephir is going to take a moment to kind of step away, and then shortly after return. The monks themselves will kind of head off behind him. Just a few moments after that, they will invite you all then into this next room, which is going to present you with a view of this little balcony from the south side, kind of to your left. As you walk across this cliff face, the balcony kind of looks over these wastes and has a incredible view from this is probably about 700 feet over the actual lands about. As far as the inside goes, there's like a central pillar before the actual balcony that has kind of like an incense stand that is not an incense stand. Oh man, I can't think of the word for it. It's just like a little tripod with like a little bowl in it that's kind of burning a small fire kind of between these little doorways. There is a set of stairs that kind of spirals up around this large symbol on the ground of the sign of Ubtoa that is presented on the ground. Inside of that next room, you are going to see the actual group of monks are all kind of knelt down on the ground in the four corners around the symbol of Ubtoa, and they are the ones who are currently chanting. As you are brought through, Nephir will kind of walk you through and basically have you all sit down in front of the actual balcony. And you'll soon after see as Asharra kind of walks down from above, and she is going to come down from the level above through this kind of, it's not really a spiraling staircase, but it does spiral in that it kind of like goes counterclockwise through the square room. As they bring you all into this room, Asharra is going to take a few moments to basically bestow like a blessing on the group, doing another kind of ritual for you all before Asharra, Nephir, and the rest of your party will travel up to the next flight of stairs, and you will commence kind of looking down on these chanting monks before they will kind of bring you into the next room as this chanting kind of continues on. They're going to more or less kind of like get to a point where they lower the volume, and you'll actually see as Asharra and Nephir kind of progress forward and lead you up the stairs. From there, they're going to bring you into a small antechamber on the kind of southeastern side of this building. And this is where everybody will kind of take a few moments to um, more or less kind of like in a kneeled position as you spend the next few moments in this room. Asharra is going to take this time to kind of question the group again and more or less discuss the actual plans to go for Omu, giving you a little bit more detail as to the Dance of the Seven Winds, and in the process, looking to see to what extent do you plan to help the children of Chot? We are in need of their protection, but among other things, great heroes such as yourself offer the opportunity that they can return to their throne, for it seems clear that the same curse that is hurting your patron is the curse that has also destroyed their family. And perhaps you alone will be capable of returning to us the relic of their ascendancy. And I think with that, she's going to mention to you all the skull chalice of Kagakor. And I'm about to drop that into Discord.
And is this relic believed to reside in Omu?
It was never mentioned by their parents. The likeliness that it passed on with the children's grandmother is high. That it would be in Omu seems the only option. So, if we are to convince the people of Chalt that these are the rightful heirs of Chalt, this relic belongs to Matsunar, and it would go a long way to protecting the safety of the children.
Where did we find this relic?
Where is the chalice now?
It is lost. It is gone. No one has seen it for many an age.
And the last place it was seen?
In the hands of the rulers of Omu. That is why it should be in Omu.
Well, we can certainly uh, look for it while we're there. Um, I
Is that
fear that I, I fear that
Hello?
even with the chalice, it may be.
It's lost calm.
I can still hear Justin. I could hear you, Vol, but not sure what your problem is. Can you hear us?
Okay, yeah, if you were just talking there, Samo, we weren't able to hear.
Oh, I heard Samo.
Oh, yeah, I'd heard him before, but I just saw his thing light up again. I
Okay,
didn't hear
gotcha,
anything
gotcha.
that time.
excuse on this? You say
Well,
it's
hold up one
law.
moment, Chris. Hold up one moment. If Samo can't hear, I want to pause. I want to pause for a moment. But I still want to hear what Justin was going for. That's part of why I like push to talk, is that hand up kind of moment gives everybody a chance to speak. We getting anything, Duvall? Can you hear me speaking?
Hello? Test, test.
Gotcha there. Can you hear us? Can you hear us? Devol, can you hear us? Reset Discord. Close it down. Yeah, let's take a break here and pick up at the hour.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good. One thing I'm noticing here, I can see all the tokens for the NPCs, and I can see my token, but I can't see any of the other
Okay.
player character tokens.
I don't think anybody else has dropped a token. I think only Vale is dropped on the board right now.
That would explain it.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We can
Yes.
indeed.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Yep, we're just going to take a quick break here. We're going to pick back up at the hour. If everybody is back before then, we will get started before then, but otherwise take 15 and we will get started back shortly here.
Yeah. Definitely noticed an uptick in Discord issues across like multiple games. So
Yeah, they sent out the update for Linux yesterday.
I dumped twice since the session started.
Yeah. I couldn't tell if you were quitting because of like children or other things.
No, it's just like it just was spinning out, and I quit and started up again. It was fine. So, all right, see you.
I'll be back in. Sorry. Yep. I'll be back in a couple minutes.
Okay.
Is that Larry?
It is. It is.
Simo, can you still hear us?
Yep.
Good. Just want to double check. Not every game, but I often have issues too, or just my audio cuts out. So.
Yeah, Sam, that happened to me twice so far today. Something's up with Discord.
I've shifted headsets. Can people hear me?
Sounds better, yeah.
Licking chicken.
Thanks.
Yep. I think that's everyone back now, right?
Yeah, my bad. I'm brewing coffee. It'll be ready in just a moment. And I'll get seated back again.
Oh, no worries.
The one thing I haven't been able to do yet is turn down the background music. Is that something I would be doing from Discord?
In
Yeah.
Discord, if you right click on Meeseeks, you can adjust their volume. You can adjust anyone's volume by right clicking on them in this chat that we are in.
Okay, and I'm sorry, right click. Okay, oh, I get it.
All of my music bots will have in their name volume, right click to try to remind you. If it is ever too loud, just adjust them.
Okay, much better, thank you.
Do you see the private message that I just sent you, Chris?
Let me look. You did not get your payment?
There's a spider on the ceiling right above my head. Very, very comforting.
Just law coming to pay a visit.
Okay, I resent it.
Excellent, gotcha. So I think we were paused there as Asharra brought up the skull chalice of Chalgore, or Chagakar, and effectively saying that this is the sign of the royal family, likely to have been lost in Omu with their grandmother, effectively having not been seen for many a generation. And I think we had Jarek, like saying something, and then I think we had I don't know if Dval was about to ask a question or if it was because you were losing power or losing like the ability to hear, and then Vale had a question as well. So we'll kind of pick up back in that moment. Hopefully everybody knows what they were saying. I improvise everything, and I definitely don't remember what Ashara said last, other than to put it in that connotation.
Yeah, so Jarek was he was saying, basically, we will certainly look for it while we're in Omu, and I think he was going to say, but I fear there may be some um, in at least in Port Nyanzaru who may be unlikely to give up their bend the knee easily, even should we recover it. Uh,
Conversing as such around the princess is strictly prohibited. Her kingdom is hers to command. When she reascends to the throne, if such things arise, perhaps then she will be more capable of dealing with such things. But for now, such negativity is not to be used in her presence.
so
Okay.
Jarek will kind of sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, not to be offensive to anything. I know I'm a newcomer to this, and I bow. And but the last time I did one of these things, information was needed. How long has the line been broken? And who, like my other friend said, there could be people opposed to this. And where was the last time, last place, and who was chasing that said person when this chalice disappeared?
The line of Omu was severed. The city was lost. All of their people were killed. As far as the world knows, there is no line to ascend to such a throne. And she'll look back towards Yarek. And hopefully, with the surprise that they do still live, perhaps some people will wise up who think that they are a prince based on the coin that they have on their person.
Jarek will kind of give a small nod and kind of understood to that, as well as to the kind of the warning to not bring up um, uh, not bring up what he had mentioned while the princess is there. She's probably prickly about that kind of, even suggestions that there may be opposition to her rule. So Jarek will kind of nod and to indicate understanding.
And then looking back over to Vale, the Asharra will. And you seemed to be twitching to ask.
Uh, already pressed upon perhaps by my comrades, although you do not know the current whereabouts of the chalice, we will need whatever information we can have to know its last whereabouts, and perhaps if there are others out there who might have information that we could get from them.
The glorious thing about the lost and the dead is that to be lost, you must be forgotten, because nobody knows where you are. And the dead are dead, and you cannot speak with them.
I bow my head with assent.
So as far as things go, there is a long quest to arrive at finding out where Omu is. Perhaps that is something that's kind of got passed over in doing a quick little recap of things. But knowing where Omu is already a huge hurdle in all of this. Like, this place has been lost to a jungle that people don't go into because you don't ever come out of the jungle. There's not information, there's not a library that you can go to. Omu is a land lost in a land that is lost.
God.
Kind of we'll be in a needle in a haystack, but at least we know where the haystack is, which is a good start.
Looking over to Island, were you thinking of something?
Island sort of nods and looks at his companions because he wasn't really thinking of something.
All right, yeah, I just saw your microphone was hitting.
No, sorry.
Yeah, so to all of the actual questions, like Asharra isn't asking you all to find this thing and bring it back because it's there. They're saying that if these two are ever going to ascend to the throne, that is an important artifact that will prove their ascendancy. This is something to keep your eye out for, perhaps more than necessarily like this is going to solve all of your problems. No, this is going to solve all of their problems. You may find it, you may not. They're just trying to describe it, and they are trying to measure and weigh your dedication to these children that they have dedicated their lives to.
I sometimes find that one thing leads to another. When I go into the jungle, I often follow my nose, as they say. But if this is a longer term goal, perhaps there is something else more immediate that you desire. And in attending to that, perhaps we will find additional information.
Have you planned upon whether you will be going to Omu? What are your thoughts?
I look
Uh,
at everybody else and go, "That our plan?"
yeah, Omu. That's where we're going.
I can gift you flight and give of my flesh that you can fly to Omu. But if you are not quick, you will quickly find yourselves stranded. And while Omu is certainly yours to search, it does not mean that you will find an easy time in such a land. We were once a singular people within the worship of Ubtoa, and when we dishonored him, we were removed, and the people of Jolt were cast down, none as far as his people in Numoa. Oops, Omu. The people worshipped many gods, and it became a fallen city, even so far as the city itself sinks further and further into the lava of the volcanoes that surround it. If you decide to travel there by air, you may find things easier to get there, and then looking towards island, until the gargoyles see you. You can find entrance wherever you might desire from the air, but it would do you to land quickly so as not to attract more gargoyles from the cliffside. If you choose to enter, there is both a river that will fall into the northeastern of the city, as well as stairs that will climb down into the city from the southwest.
And will we be able to fly with all of our equipment?
Your ability to travel and your sense of flight will be quite similar. If you can walk with what you hope to travel with, you can fly with the same. Your days of travel may be shorter, but the distance through the air is also more direct.
Well, I think this is our intention, because getting a boat and going the long way around is quite a big project. Does everybody still feel like they want to fly? How about our new folks?
I got no problem with flying. My feet can leave the ground.
Do we, Shara? Do we know how long this gift will last? How much time we might actually have in Omu? Of course, we would prefer not to be stranded if we can help it. Perhaps having some idea of how much time we might have.
It will grant you a few days of flight. While you can fly perhaps 20 to 30 miles in any given day, the trip to Omu should take most of this time for you to cover. You are likely to find that flight will take you to Omu, but not bring you any options once you are there.
Understood. And Jarek is going to look towards the others. He's thinking. I'm thinking we have not been down that way. We don't know what awaits us. Perhaps it would be more prudent to um, take the time to try an overland approach, perhaps from the west, and in case we once we do get there, have perhaps some idea of how to get back out again. Bit of reconnaissance, as it were. I think we can spare that time.
Go ahead, Deval.
I was going to say that if we track through and then track back, like you said, time. It's how much time do we have to get there and get back. If we fly there, then we have whatever time it takes to do what we're doing there, and then track through the jungle. But it all depends on, yeah, do we have a timetable, and does it really matter? Because one way or another, we're going to have to track. Can we take enough supplies to come back on foot if we fly there first? Um, or can we take enough supplies to go there and back and do what we need to do there at the same time, not knowing how long we're going to be there for?
So Eku is going to kind of step forward in the conversation here. Um, this is a older woman, long dark black hair, very dark flesh as any kind of typical Shulton would. She certainly looks a lot like the actual children. We are perhaps beyond the distance that flight will take us directly to Omu. It will grant us much of that distance that we can fly, but perhaps not cover it all. And then she's going to look back to Jarek. Were you contemplating flying back towards Port Nyanzaru and taking another route toward the Shiku Bay and coming from the west? And then I guess before she kind of like gives way of the floor, she'll look towards Duvall. I am capable of summoning sustenance as well as water for us to survive. Among our greatest dangers are the diseases of the jungle, of which I think we still have a substantial supply that you are more than welcome to.
My idea was not so much to fly back towards Port Nyanzaru, but perhaps I don't know how long an overland trek would take to the west to come into Omu that way, rather than trying to pass by Lake Lua and through the Valley of Embers, which I understand is quite inhospitable.
So I've got about a 240-mile distance between Kir Sabal and Omen. If I recall correctly, that puts it at effectively you need to travel 80 miles in a day. At 4 miles an hour, you would have to travel for 20 hours a day or 10 hours at a high pace. Pretty much regardless of how you did that, you would be flying to Omu, and effectively taking 3 levels of exhaustion to kind of fly that. That would become very dangerous very quickly.
And is the benefit of this ritual something that is granted immediately, or is it something that can be perhaps summoned at a time of need?
This, returning to Asharra, I give myself in the creation of this ritual. My wings will become your wings. And while it is for but a moment of time, you will gain my ability of flight. But it is not something that I can change. It is given when you are ready to go.
Understood.
If we are to be flying to this place that we would not know from the air, are there landmarks we should be looking for, either there or along the way, to help guide us?
Jericho kind of look towards Island and I like suggest Island maybe show
Oh
show
yeah,
Vale and Dval the map we have, and that's
yeah.
kind of what we've been using for.
We've got
Yeah.
it marked out. We know where we're going, and it's right at the foot of the mountains.
Effectively, the last time they were here, they helped them fill in the rest of their map to basically broach what was lost between the Peaks of Flame, the actual location of Omu, and the things between. So, more or less, the group can follow Kir Sabal down, or rather up the river Orlung. Reaching Lake Lua, you will see the Valley of Embers as it essentially has burned that entire area. And you can follow kind of the actual tree line into those mountains. And then from the mountains, you would be searching for Omu from there. But as far as things go, there's not really a way to go so much as it's follow the river, get to the actual peaks, and then when you're searching through the jungle, from overhead, Omu is very easy to find. But in the long run, also these were people who were not necessarily limited by how long they could fly for. So their description of it didn't necessarily entail the fact that more or less you're looking at the ability to fly there. Um, feel like you all could almost get to kind of the western end of the Valley of Embers, um, with a little bit more normal kind of flight.
Yeah, it looks like about what 200 miles to the start of there. About 150 to Lake Luo.
Yeah, that's kind of the weird thing about this. On the actual hex chart, it's about 240 to Omo, and I get about 270 to there. So these are perhaps a little bit different. But that doesn't necessarily surprise me. Every single time I like change the map, I do not get it the same size each time.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, I was using that snap to center, so I wasn't.
Yeah, it's super vague on this map because every single time I've updated like where the like parts that Aelin like fills in, every single time I upload like a different size of the map. I never thought to like write down a standard size.
Well, I mean that makes sense given our map, right? It's like it's not like they had surveyors going out and mapping like every mile of this place. So somebody could say it's one person says it's 250 miles, and somebody says no, it's 300 miles, and you take the average, and who knows?
Precisely. The fact that like it's the same style as with names. The fact that you don't really ever have certainty works in the favor of falling into the actual occurrence.
Okay, with that being said, do we have to land? I mean, when we flying, is it a ship that we're flying on, or are we actually doing the flying?
I mean, from the description that you got from a bird person who says you're gaining my ability to fly, you guys are going to be able to fly.
Right, and that's what I just wanted a confirmation on. So we're going to have to land every now and then just to rest, sleep, and then take off the next day.
Yeah, I think unless I mean, we would have to essentially fly nonstop to get all the way, potentially get all the way to Omu, I think, but that would leave us like really just like exhausted and terrible shape. So I think maybe the idea more is to try and cover, maybe get a as quick a pace as we can while still, getting in our rest and when we need to, and kind of cover as much distance as we can, and then we'll have to like cover the last part on foot.
Right, so we can call this flight up at any time, right?
So that's what
Yep.
I think the question Jarek was asking, and it sounds like essentially once the ritual is done, we gain the ability, and then it lasts for so long. So we have to be sure. Essentially, we want to be sure that we're ready to go straight for Omu before they do this ritual, because once it's done, that's it. Like we can't. Like it's not like we get an object that we can then use to start the flight at later time. That was also Jarek's question too. So
Yeah, that's what Ashara was trying to describe is when she does this, she is going to lose her wings, and you all are going to gain the ability to fly. This ritual should not be done until you all are ready to leave and you know where you're going.
Okay, so are we ready to leave as soon as she's done? Is there anything else we need to get before then, like supplies, camping supplies, travel rations, or anything? Are we all set?
Seems like everything in the jungle wants to eat us, and so generally we eat them.
Okay.
Food should be okay, but we don't have our equipment right now, so we can't go right this minute.
You guys aren't really like separated from it so much as it's just not on your person.
Yeah, I think like if starting out first thing in the morning at dawn seems like reasonable plan to me.
I am skilled forager if we have to hunt for food as well.
Great.
Echo is going to slap herself on the forehead.
Echo also feeds us. She's got quite a lot of skills.
Right, I understand that. I think that's what she said. She can provide us with food and water as much as needed. Um,
She can fly too.
She's gonna look at Island and just kind of like give you a little evil eye.
It's pretty cool
yeah,
that you can do that.
sadly, she can't carry us. I just think of I forget who said it about Lord of the Rings. It was like, why didn't they just have the giant eagles carry them all the way to Mordor and
Good
skip
point.
all that other stuff?
I was like the theory that that's what Gandalf was saying when he died to the Balrog, because he was saying "Fly, you fools." He was telling them the rest of his plan.
Ah, never thought of that, but yeah.
that's an interesting take on that. Yes.
Because the eagles roost on the east side of the Misty Mountains, so they were pretty much going to the eagles' roost. But also because Tolkien lived through World War One, and they literally had to walk through the no man's land, and that's what the rest of that walk was.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, yeah, be, you know, narratively much less interesting if they just, flew on the Eagles. But anyway, yeah, so in terms of our readiness, I mean, if we think we're ready to tackle Omu, then I guess there's no time like the present. Yeah. What does everyone else think?
While I understand your concerns to sleep this night and go in the morning, it is perhaps ideal that you travel with the cover of night and give yourselves the protection of the trees during the day.
Sounds like a plan to me. Stare down the hellhounds without flinching. Let's go.
So, any further questions on the idea of essentially your plan at present is just to effectively kind of like fly to the western side of the Valley of Embers and make the rest of that trip?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we can, because we know Lake Luo is there's like a ton of undead there, so we can get past that, and hopefully, to the other side of the valley, and then kind of follow along the I guess the western ridge of those mountains, and then kind of down around to Omu, like make it
Well,
against the.
you all aren't going to be able to fly that full distance unless you all quite thoroughly, like, basically start to kill yourselves with exhaustion.
Yeah, I meant like, you mean to the Valley of Embers?
Yeah. The Valley of Embers, I feel like, is probably the extent of how far you can go if you are not getting exhausted.
Yeah, so I was thinking like, okay, so if we can fly, beyond the lake and then towards the, like you said, the western edge of the valley, and then from on foot, then kind of follow along the, western edge of those mountains around and down to Omu.
Gotcha. My bad. I missed that part then. So if you all are all set, I think Asharra is going to step away for some amount of time. She will return presenting Princess Moaxener and effectively bringing the party down into the central chamber where you all are surrounded, or rather, the monks will be surrounded by the actual symbol to Ubtoa. They will bring the children basically standing overhead along the kind of northern end. And you all will be back along that southern kind of walkway. Um, as they kind of present the princess and then the prince, um, you will be invited into the actual circle where you all will be seated kind of towards the center of the maze itself. Ashara will kneel at the center where she is going to summon the black orchid and begin to grind it as around you 7 monks begin the actual chant. And I need everyone to make a wisdom saving throw. Oh shit! Yeah, I thought Larry dropped for a while ago. Larry, did you roll that in D&D Beyond?
I did. I can't see it
You
in
are
roll 20
currently
yet.
not in roll 20.
Oh yeah, my internet connection is down. Well, I see it in roll 20. Do you not see it? 14,
Nope.
23?
14. Gotcha.
Got a 14.
So everyone else is going to kind of be put under the actual like charm of this chanting, and you're pretty much going to miss this entire ritual. And Island will be the only one who is able to kind of maintain your consciousness as this kind of hum of this chant basically is going to start to drop everybody out of their full consciousness and start to just lull you into not asleep, not a dream, but something otherwise. Um, I think, for what it's worth, everybody at this point can be aware enough. Yeah, I already forgot that Nephir doesn't speak common. Everybody can be aware enough that they are chanting in Aarakocra in the language of, what is it? Uh, Give me 1 second for the actual word.
Orin.
Yeah, Orin. That they are chanting in Orwin in the language of the Dukes of Aqua. And they are basically using this chant to more or less control not only their own kind of consciousness level, but also Asharra's. And Island is going to be the only one who can kind of maintain his own recollection through this. You may even notice that both of the children, each as well, are kind of getting lost into this, where everybody starts to kind of sway with the same kind of speech as the words start to control their movements and start to control their minds. Ashar is eventually going to kind of stand, and as she takes a handful of the black orchid, she's going to kind of lift it towards her face. With a big puff, she's just going to inhale it. And in an instant, her body just kind of like flays out. And you're going to see as she kind of like stiffens up and her wings kind of fully extend. And her body is going to start to kind of fall into sync with this chant. She's going to start to then move around this group, and you'll start to hear Island as the first words that she starts to speak kind of complement the chant that the monks around her are bringing forth. And she's almost like a wave on the same ocean, until you can hear more and more that these words are creating this image, and she's going against the ocean, and it starts to fight and almost create like a cacophony with it. And there's moments by moments where she gets into a more extreme state, and it starts to almost break this level as she starts to set herself apart. And as the minutes go by, you're going to watch as one after another of her feathers starts to just kind of like melt away and almost drip away like wax. And as she goes about this ritual over the next 10 minutes, you're going to see all of her flight feathers fall away before she has these two featherless wings that extend out from her shoulder blades. As she continues this dance and goes back into line with the chant, she is going to start to lose even her wings as they atrophy into smaller and smaller appendages. And you will start to feel the weight of a heavy backpack riding high on your shoulders, before eventually it'll probably connect the dots that perhaps you yourself are in fact growing wings at this point. And with 10 minutes going by, Asharra is going to collapse into the center as the monks continue to chant. And soon Nephir will come to you all, and one after another, he's going to bring you up just with a soft hand underneath your kind of armpit, kind of raising you to your feet and bringing you out of the trance and back to consciousness. He's going to have you all rise. And while you all will start to feel that same weight on your shoulder blades, everybody is going to also recognize nobody looks any different. So while you might suspect one or another of you, um, it might have failed, but you suspect like you still feel this, and it feels this is gonna be kind of like being claustrophobic, where it's like a crushing weight to have two new appendages that are quite muscular hanging off of your shoulder blades, and so high as well. But as things kind of settle, you all are going to recognize that perhaps the magic feels much more than it is. And as Nefir kind of brings you all back to consciousness, for what it's worth, everybody, I think at this point your party is under 10 people. There is a limit of 10 people. What we're going to go for at this point, everybody has the ability to fly. Asharra is passed out kind of in the fetal position in the center of the symbol of Obtoa, and those same 7 monks are still chanting. And Nefir is going to kind of raise you all up on that southern side of the building at that kind of balcony and look to you all before you set off on your final push towards Omu. We give you the greatest of blessings that we have to offer, and we wish you the best of luck as you move into the city of the lost. May all blessings go with you, and may you stay safe through anything that you might find on the road. Other than kind of like a typical goodbye, does anybody have kind of a last message or anything before you leave Kir Sabal behind?
Well, I think we have to thank Asharra for her great sacrifice.
She
And
is passed out. She's effectively in a comatose right now.
yeah, no, we can tell her people how grateful we are
Okay,
for
okay,
her
I got you.
massive, incredible sacrifice, and that we understand how important it is.
Yeah, so
That
Nefir is going to pass to you basically. The 8 of them are going to remain in this ritual state over the next 3 days. Like, none of them are going to leave this until she returns. If they stop chanting, you might have a sense that you will lose the ability to fly.
So we got about 3 days then.
Indeed.
Yeah, so when Jarek comes to out of the transfer, he kind of feels this weight. He's like spending some time. He's like kind of like looking over his shoulder, trying to like see them, but he can't. Um, but then yeah, I mean it. He'll say like, hopefully we'll be able to get back here and think of ourselves before too long. But given the gift we've received, it's probably best not to delay any.
I second that opinion. And yeah, look at them. Are they physical or are they metaphysical?
You can feel them, you cannot see them.
Can we hear them? Do they create wind?
You can certainly try to fly.
I will do so.
So are you leaping out?
Yes.
So as you leap, what are you thinking?
I am thinking that I want to try and fly, and I will be consciously trying to move my wings in order to flap them.
So as you leap out, you're going to start to fall for a little bit before you start to feel with a little movement from your shoulders. You start to feel as you kind of like gain a little bit of wind resistance, and you're going to pick up as your wings kind of start to flap with this. and you'll start to fly. Most gliding, but each little bit of consciously trying to move your wings brings you up a little bit more too.
Wow.
So I turn back to her and says, "Is this innate, or do we have to learn?" I'm looking at him falling to the ground, and then all of a sudden take off. But I mean, is this innate? Do we have the knowledge, or do we actually learn as we do?
Like,
I was always with wings. I have always known flight. You must learn. You must each fly as yourselves.
well, here goes nothing. And Jarek kind of as after seeing Vale go, he's like in his mind, he's trying to like picture like he's seen the Aarakocra flying around before, so he's kind of like trying to fix that image in his mind of like what they looked like when they were flying, and he's trying to essentially like like fix that in his mind, and then he's going to go and follow off the edge and uh,
So maybe with a little bit of a difference, you'll probably have noticed that Vale is flying a little bit more um, horizontal with their wings, and perhaps a little bit more like a four-legged creature. As you leap off, you're going to fly much more vertical to the ground, as the Aarakocra tend to basically keep their head above their legs. With that sense of flight, you're going to fly much more similar to effectively how you've always seen Nephir fly.
yeah, he's trying to use that as a reference and hope that it kind of comes to him quickly enough that he doesn't splat on the ground. So
I mean, none of, even with Vale, I was describing maybe 15, 20 feet of flight before, like falling rather in that flight. Like, you guys aren't anywhere near the ground. You're 600 or so feet up in the air when you leap out of that building. I think I dropped the side view into the Discord. Yeah, it's right above the chalice. The actual side view. I think the actual temple where you all would have let from is like 600 feet. The highest buildings are like in that 800.
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, for what it's worth, you all would see as Eku kind of steps out and is just going to almost look like she stepped out onto floorboards that are not there. And Eku is just kind of standing in midair. Um, I think Krook you might find almost as hopping through the air, and seems to be treating it much more like a grung, where it is big jumps, and almost as if she is landing on something to then leap from. But I think you all will very quickly see that your flight is purely based on how you think of flight.
There's no time but the time, so let's do what they're doing. Tally ho!
I'll go with you. Thinking of gliding, that's what I think flight is like.
Flying like a bird, like an eagle that I see.
Yeah, so like working from like a glider's perspective, it'll definitely be much more for you where you kind of just soar and you're constantly losing height. And you eventually kind of have to work to gain elevation again, where you can kind of return to like a soaring state. But in general, you all kind of can learn more from each other to where you can eventually fly effectively however you'd like here.
Well, I'm going to fly back to the room so we can gather our stuff so we can take off.
Yep, you all can return to that actual room level below to grab up all of your things, and everyone can set off for the evening. As you all progress down, or rather up the River Orlung, let's get a round of survivals from, it looks like, any two of Vale, Yarrick, or Island. You all can decide who's going to roll those two.
I'll do it. I got a decent
Way to
score.
go, Bill.
Gotcha. Island does not have a score. You guys are rolling dice outside of the game. So Val and Island can kind of lead the pack here, assuming then that Jarek is kind of towards the back of it. We can kind of progress with you all forward here as you travel down and up the river. And you all are going to progress forward. Let's get a round of D6s, please. From everyone. My bad, my voice kind of left out there from everyone. Yep. Bam. So you all are going to fly through this first night rather uneventfully. You are approaching a full moon, so while you have a lot of cover from the night, there is certainly the threat of anything above can see you well lit from the moon, and anything below might see you silhouetted across the actual sky. In either way, it presents a little bit of danger, but in the long run, you are still flying rather safely. This first night is going to go rather simply, and you all, I feel like, can probably end up sleeping probably most of the way towards Nangalore. I feel like that's about the distance that you can fly in this first night.
Yes, I think like as the night is getting later and thinking, of the advice to maybe use the day to rest, like as they're flying, Jarek will be trying to maybe keep an eye out for um if you can spot from the air something that looks like it might be a good place to make camp, like maybe a um like a cliff face or like a particularly uh dense area of tree cover or something like that.
Roll a perception for me.
And he's not used to that vantage point.
Um, Yeah, I think you're still flying through vastly the actual jungle here, and trying to keep an eye on the River Olung below. So more or less, you're just looking with this idea of you can spot different areas where perhaps the bend in the actual river has created a little bit younger growth. Or you can spot different areas where like the bend is a little bit like older growth and kind of make a decision there um, where you might want to go. New growth might present you with like a lot of like lower, younger like saplings almost, where the river has like newly kind of shifted across that area. Older growth might give you something else. There goes my water bottle. But in general, yeah, I think you're just going to kind of get lost in this vantage of looking down into the forest from above. It's a weird way of spying on things. But yeah, you guys can kind of progress from there.
Yeah, so I guess Jarek would suggest to the others, again after kind of we've been flying for a while and um maybe as the night is getting later and or dawn is starting to, early hours of the morning. So just maybe the, old growth might give us better cover from above if we want to alight and camp for the day.
As we have traveled through the night by wing, have we spotted any other flying creatures?
To what end? What are you looking for?
Just to look out and see if there are any other, like, aerial predators that we need to watch out for, either while we're flying or if we're camping in a high place that they might come down on us.
There are indeed. There is no safety in the jungle. Whether you've seen them that night, I would say at present, no, you have not.
Okay, but I mean,
But
do
this
they?
this jungle will kill you from everywhere. Everything about this jungle is hostile to life.
As far as flying creatures are concerned, are we thinking
Yes,
like pterosaurs, dinosaurs?
there are bigger, hungry things everywhere here. Some of them fly, some of them are plants, some of them are dead, some of them are dinosaurs. But yes, you have threats everywhere.
The Terra folk are we keep running into, and they're flying dinosaur. They're like people, but they don't really have a
And you've
culture.
also fought something very similar to them that are also non-cultured.
Yeah, the pteranodons or something like that. I don't know if we would know what their name is, but yeah, like more bestial, like flying dinosaurs. Whereas I think the terrafolk are more humanoid-ish.
So flying sea stacks and land of the lost. That is great.
Yes.
But I would not write off bigger things either. You guys should be well aware that this jungle is, again, me saying hostile to life on every front that you have.
Only the strong survives, I take it.
There's a
Not even
reason
all
why
of
I
them. Yeah.
described something flying higher than you would see you very clearly. Because something bigger and badder that flies higher is certainly an option for things that you all can encounter.
Yeah, I
Out of
think we
game.
just have to. Oh, go ahead.
So out of game, I rub my hand and go more XP, more XP.
So, where do you all want to camp here? The old growth?
I don't have a
So,
survival skill. Who has it and who can make it?
so
Um, I
Jarek's. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say I have survival skill of +4.
Stop talking about modifiers.
Oh, sorry.
I am at home in the forest.
So, the Jarek's suggestion is maybe we go for an older growth because it'll give us more cover from the air while we're on the ground. Because it'll thicker tree cover, leaf cover, canopy.
And that's the most protection.
From the air, I think like it'll be harder to spot us from the air if given the denser tree canopy with the older growth forest is his thought versus like newer growth where there'd be less there'd be more kind of more daylight, I guess, in between the tree cover and stuff above. Who's to say? I mean, there's stuff on the ground is probably just as dangerous either way.
It, I mean, it's at your call. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jarek. So we're going to spiral down and follow Jarek to potential campsite.
Gotcha. So while you all prepare camp here, you guys can get all set up. You can go through the normal process of Eku basically creating food and water for you all. And as everybody gets prepared to rest, what would you all like to do for a watch?
Well, I'll certainly take one. I'd be happy to take the first one.
I'll take the last one.
I will take second.
And I will take the third then.
Gotcha.
I guess since we're more camping during the day, the light shouldn't be so much of an issue. In terms of like setting a campfire, stuff like that.
I just assume you would be a cold camp for now.
Yeah, I mean, if we don't need it for light, if we're camping during the day, I would agree that a cold camp would make more sense.
All right. Yeah, let's take another short break here. Come back in like 10, 15 minutes, about 15 after the hour, and we will jump back into things shortly.
Cool.
Roger,
Thanks.
Roger.
All right, sounds good.
Gotcha. As everybody is getting back, you can place yourselves on this map where you all would like to set camp.
I don't know if there's actually water there, but I feel like if there was like a little pond or something, we'd probably camp near there with the. Not that we need. I guess we have water from Eku, but
Yeah, for what it's worth, there's water there.
So where's the camp going to be?
Around Jarek.
Look at all that nice looking fruit all over the place.
fruit or mushrooms.
I think they are meant to be Anamantia muscaria.
My Latin's a little rusty.
The Mario mushroom.
Ah, okay.
They are the mushroom of consciousness. Perhaps the reason that we all have myelin sheaths around our nerve cells, the reason for Santa Claus, the reason for Mario. Pretty amazing, trippy mushroom that also, fun fact, melts your brain.
Let's not eat them then.
The Russians have known how to cook them for centuries, if not through all of history. They are very easy to neutralize the. It's like an alcohol-like effect, but alcohol also melts your brain. These just have two different toxins in them. One of them highly hallucinogenic. The other one is highly. It induces alcohol effects, like very much so, but also again melts brain cells.
Like eating pucker fish. Yay.
So with everybody getting set up there, um, we will progress with first watch from Island. Yeah, so as your morning kind of progresses through here, um, conditions are pretty nice. You have a nice kind of breeze at any given point. That's kind of keeping everything like fresh and keeping it a little bit easier to stay awake here. You do a pretty good job keeping a conscious view over the party, making sure that in general nothing is moving too close to you. Uh, Certainly are signs that the jungle is alive around you all. Nothing that is particularly close is really going to be alarming. But as you progress through the first hour or so, do another perception check for me, please. Second hour is going to be a pretty similar occurrence. As far as things go, the weather might get a little bit cooler through this day. Pretty solid chance that at some point it is going to rain, and probably towards the end of what you feel is your watch, you'll feel the first few signs of rainfall, as the air goes from like this kind of like um, almost kind of like misty low front, to where you actually start to feel like a first few drops. And I think we're gonna go for Vale is on the second watch.
Yes.
You're up, buddy.
Okay.
Time.
Um,
Quiet.
okay, I will keep watch and wake the next when it is their time. Sleep well. And I tend to sleep in a tree, and I would before I start my watch fully. Are there any jungle birds or any living nearby creatures that I could cast animal friendship on?
Roll a perception check. If you'd like, you can wander off a few hundred feet and go find what sounds like some small squirrel or other tree-like lovers, a few hundred feet away from the party.
I don't want to leave the party, so I'll just keep watch on my own this night. So do you want another perception roll?
Yes, and I'll need two for your actual watches. If you go into D&D Beyond, you can set that to always roll twice. At the top, it should say type of roll. If you go into more options, it would also be good to set it so it always rolls damage as well. Those are two settings that are rather important. But roll one more perception there. So as you all are relaxing in this next part of your day, as the weather kind of switches into this kind of chilly rain starting to drip down around. I think the first thing that is going to come about is from up in your tree. You are going to start to see a bunch of plants are starting to move around your friends. And if you're sleeping, your sword does nothing for you.
It will wake me if there's danger, as long as it's like a non-magical.
So you are going to get awoken. And I feel like alert is pretty similar.
Yeah, I think it basically functions like alert. The sword.
Oh no, alert is not as good. But the sword does wake you if you are in danger, right?
Yeah, I can't be surprised except when incapacitated by something other than non-magical sleep. So if it's just regular sleep, it'll wake me up.
Gotcha. So you are going to be awoken here. Everybody is going to be surprised as Jarek and Vale are the first to kind of react. So let me get a bunch of initiatives from you all, please.
Hey, sorry about that. I didn't see it go through. I think I wrote twice. You go through?
Yeah, we see 2, I think.
Yeah, I think if you click that little B next to the send, and you can actually set it to always roll twice. That's kind of preferable in case, like, so that we don't have to, ask whether there's advantage or disadvantage. Just always you always have the 2 rolls there.
Alrighty. So, Jarek, the sword is telling you you are in danger. What are you doing?
Okay, so I think first thing is to try and wake up one of the party members. So I'm going to move and try to wake. Let's see, Vale was on watch, so I'll go try to wake Tall, Tall, kind of like shaking him awake and like you know, ready yourself to there's danger kind of thing.
I don't
Gotcha.
want to get up, Mom.
How high does Vale sleep up in the tree?
Probably about 15 feet.
And Vol, you are in particular trying to avoid being woken up here?
No, I was just saying I didn't want to wake up, Mom, but that's fine. I'll get up. Time for school.
All right, that still sounds like you're trying to avoid being woken up. But regardless, we are going to progress forward here. You have moved. Are you doing anything else, Jarek? Just trying to wake Vol?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be, I have my weapon out, and then I'll probably actually, after I do that, I'll try to move towards Island. I don't think I can wake him on this yet, but I'll move towards to with that idea in mind.
When you move away from him, you are going to feel as vines reach out and swing towards you, just barely missing you. And you'll kind of see these tiny little yellow flower buds are kind of like bursting forth out of the vines. But as it goes forward, we will skip past Vol. You are surprised, semi-conscious, and it's going to go to Vale. You see these flowers and plants beneath your roost are starting to move. What are you doing?
I am going to call out loudly enough for everybody in the camp area to hear, wake up, we are attacked. And I am going to fire an arrow at the nearest one.
Roll a. I mean, you can yell loud enough to try to wake everybody, or you can shoot, but otherwise, making a call just to try to get people without using action economy is not necessarily effective. Um, it's kind of like two different things when you're trying to wake everybody using your voice and when you're actively trying to attack, basically. Because
Okay,
otherwise, you're really just speaking.
I will just call out for people to awake then.
Gotcha. Roll a performance check. And then Island and Duvall roll performances. For what it's worth, Duvall's can be with advantage. Or not performance, perception checks. If you already rolled it, it's always the first roll that we take. Island, you are going to be able to awake. You are still in the surprise state, but you are conscious. And Duvall will wake up, same idea, effectively still surprised. Well, actually, realistic Island is already past that as well from top of the order. And it is gonna go down this whole big line now. You are going to see as there is a massive puff of yellow pollen. And I believe everybody will be making a wisdom saving throw. Yep. Gotcha. So on your turn, Island, you're going to be moving towards this plant in the center of that little water pool.
So I've lost my own volition.
Yep. Your initial thoughts are just going to be moving towards it. Alrighty. Duvall, you have the option to attack either of two different plants that are walking away from you. Would you like to swing on that?
Sure. So attack of opportunity? Yes.
Would you like to attack the first one, second one? Are you attacking just as soon as you have the option?
The last one that passes me.
Gotcha. Go for it.
Okay, so Warhammer.
Solid smash into the flowers. There's a little burst of petals into the air, and there's some yellow petals that kind of float down around you all here. Alrighty, I have a group of flowers are kind of climbing up the tree, and they're going to start to lash into Vale. I want a contested acrobatics is probably what you would use, I feel like, for Vale. You're going to feel the tug of the vines as they kind of grasp at you and are very quickly able to pull your limb away as they try to grasp for you. Yarek, two of these creatures are going to reach out and slash at you. Each of them are just going to basically be kind of like almost like flopping vines out towards you as they're kind of still coalescing around. And then one of these is going to slap out towards Vol. This one will hit, and it's going to deal 6 bludgeoning damage as you just feel this like solid like thump of vine that seems to like almost get thicker as it flies through the air before slapping down into you, and just right before your face a little yellow flower buds before you. And then you're going to hear some thumping from the side of the forest to the north of you all as another creature, seemingly part of these flowers, much more flesh, but still completely kind of encircled by these flowers, is going to stumble towards Jarek. That's old school, going for Justin. And it is going to try to reach out and claw at you. So I guess the first should be a bite and the second should be a claw. So it's going to try to bite out at you. That one should hit with a 22, and it's going to deal 13 piercing damage into Jarek's flesh. And that should take it back up to the top with Island.
Hey, Mar, just like as we're into this, I think it's like 5 days since we were getting the Black Orchid, so I think I'm back at full hit points and full spells. Do you think that?
100%. Yeah, you guys have definitely had some very chill stuff going on.
Cool. So what am I doing? I'm taken over by this thing. Am I supposed to make a saving throw?
Oh, yeah, my bad. Yeah, yours is very simple. You're actually walking towards the orchid, and then the end of your turn, you can make another wisdom saving throw.
Well, I can get all the way there. You took care of it. All right, so wisdom saving throw.
So yeah, at the end of your turn, you're kind of just going to, I feel like in a very reminiscent occasion, you're going to be walking forward, and all of a sudden, as you kind of come back to consciousness, you see this yellow blossom of flowers in front of you, kind of stabbing out of the lake before you, and the setting's a little bit different, but the flower looks far too familiar.
Oh shit! Yeah, this has happened before. All right, I'm out of.
And that's going to go to Jack.
So Jarek lets out a growl of pain as this thing bites into him, but as even as he's doing that, sees Island kind of walking by. He's like, "Island, no!" And then he is going. You'll see kind of a cutlass kind of form of a blade kind of come up from the ornate hilt that he has in his hand, and he's going to slash out at the plant creature to his southwest between him and Island. I don't know if Island's considered incapacitated.
They took some of my functionality when they did this last update. No, at this point, Island is kind of coming to in the same moment. But you said you were slashing out at the one that's like next to him?
Yeah, between me and him. Yeah, to my
Gotcha.
south.
Yeah, so that's a solid hit on it. Yeah, as far as sneak attack goes, you can gain the sneak attack there. So for 8 damage.
And slashing out again at the same one. And then I think I'm going to action surge. I'm going to move and try to try and grapple Island to prevent him from going any further towards into the plant thing if I can.
I think I'm myself again. I'm not sure you have to do that.
Yep. So when you go to grab him, unless Island is in particular trying to fight against you, you are successfully able to move him. It is effectively half your movement to move wherever you would like with the two of you.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, I guess I'd just try to get him back towards onto like dry land, so up next to me.
Something like that, basically.
Yeah.
We can call that 5 feet. So if you use 10 feet to do what you've done, is that effectively all you're going for?
Uh, yeah, because that's my action with my action surge. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's it for this round.
Gotcha. So that's gonna go to Devol.
Okay, couple questions for you. Um, DM's calling. Is this tree? These are trees here? Are they going to impede my spells in any way? Can I use them for cover, or do I need to get out because your rule is that they would impede cover? But Eldritch Blast.
Things are going to receive effectively cover from being inside of a forest, but you guys are inside of a forest.
Right. I'm saying, do I get any type of cover from it or not? And
When something is next to you swinging at you, no.
okay, good to go. Two. Which would arcane be used for to identify what these guys are? Because I've never seen them before. So, or is that going to take nature?
If you want to use action economy, like spending time to try to figure out what these things are, you can certainly make a check and I can tell you what it is. But as far as things go, you are going to spend your 6 seconds here trying to identify these things more than actually acting upon what you see here. If you are trying to go upon what you see plants reaching out to attack people right now.
Right. I need to know what they are so certain spells will work with them. So I'm gonna
Yeah,
use
so if you want to use your action right now, you could do a um Arcana, Perception, or Nature. Any of those are going to give you different styles of answers.
okay, I'll use my arcana just to figure what I'm dealing with here.
These are undead creatures that seem to be animated by some sort of perverted magics.
Okay. And can I still do my movement or I'm not gonna take
You
any of
still
my
have movement, you still have bonus action, you just used your action to try to identify them.
Roger that. So I'm going to move. I'm gonna take my move action to move over to my character's left, about 20 feet.
Gotcha. So one of the vines is going to lash out at you, as well as the main pod that Island just walked towards. Both of them are going to reach out for you. So the first of the vines going to grasp forward at you. An 11, I believe, will miss. And
Yeah.
then the second one from the main pod is going to miss.
You said they're undead, correct?
Yes. And that should take us to, let's see, one of the creepers is going to, yeah, they took my button. I don't even have the button to skip through initiative order and rotate it now.
ADM.
What's up?
Any type of undead must make a DC 14 before they can attack me. Will save.
Have you even taken damage yet?
Dude, no way they took that button. You're totally right. What were they thinking? I need that button too.
Another one is going to move forward. It has the willpower to attack you, and it is going to swing on you with a 13 to hit. AC 15 on you. So that will take us to Vale. You have the creature grasping at your ankle beneath you. You are up in the tree. There is a large creature that is on all four legs that is attacking Jarek. And all of these creatures seem to be surrounded in these same yellow vines. Are you there, Vale?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Have I been attacked, or is it my turn? I was
It's
had to move
on your
away.
turn.
Oh, mm, I am going to disengage from here and move about to here, and am going to fire with an arrow.
Is that your bonus action with the rogue right now? Is that
Yes.
gotcha?
Okay, now can I get a surprise attack or anything from
Nobody's
doing
getting
this?
surprised here.
Okay. Um, I will just fire my arrow then.
What are you shooting at?
Um, the large bear-like one.
Gotcha. Solid plink into the flesh. If you set it to auto roll damage, it will set those damages, so that's all there. For just a little plink of 6 damage into the large creature. Anything else from you? Any more movement?
Uh, no, I don't think I can. I can't hide because I've already used my bonus action. If I did move back as far as this, will I be firing too much foliage? Will they have cover?
I mean, everything gains cover from firing through anything. So, firing, the further you move away, the more likely you are to have cover in between you.
Okay, so I mean, here I'm not seeing anything. I mean, we
You
have
already took
trees
the
here, but
shot, so you can fire from there, and then you can move back. But
okay, gotcha. I'm done.
so from the northwest, you all are going to see another puff of pollen extend into the air as a few more of these creatures start to, a couple of them almost running towards the life in the central action. Two of them moving closest and quickest to Vale are going to strike out at Vale. So with the first, I need a wisdom saving throw from, I believe this will just be Vale. And then two of these creatures attacking out at Vale. First one will hit with a 21. Second one's going to hit with a 22. And I think they are each a d8. So 3 bludgeoning damage and then 4 bludgeoning damage as these creatures kind of extend out vines and slap down into the back of you while you shoot at the large creature. Two of the others are closing in on Island and Yarek. And then we have, let's see, this one is going to move up to and try to consume Dvale or Dvol. It is going to crit And this is going to deal psychic damage. 27 psychic damage to Devol.
Holy shit.
Let's see. And then one of the vines is going to lash out at Vol. Big ol' miss. And I think I've got the other two vines are going to go for. Let's see, actually. Both of them are going for Island, as they're just going to kind of shift over on you. So first one should miss with a 13. Second one's going to hit with a 17.
Yep,
Yeah.
I'm already down.
No. Oh, wait. Vol is down?
Yep, -5.
All right. The 17, though, was on Island.
Yep.
But the zombie that would have attacked Devol is going to have advantage as he is prone and unconscious. So the second attack is a 7 as well. It's going to miss. Damage on Island is going to be 7 bludgeoning as the vines slap down into you. And we're going to go back to top of the order at Island. Oh, wait, I skipped the bear. The bear is going to go for Jarek. Bite is I think that's a 13, which is 1 under your AC. And then it's going to hit with the claw. And it's going to do 13 slashing damage as it rakes you with the claw. And yeah, the bite was a 13. Is that correct? Your AC is 15 on Jarek?
15, yeah.
Gotcha. Yep. And then that will take us to Island.
Turn undead as my action.
30 feet of you?
30 feet. I think it's everybody. I don't know if the actual plant is undead or just the
Everybody that
minions.
you can see. There's a difference there. Because you guys haven't actually seen everybody yet.
I think, I'm not sure. It looks like Island doesn't have to see them. They have to be able to see him.
No, that's my point, though, is he says it's everybody. But my point is you guys don't see everything yet, though.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay.
just everybody around us.
I feel like they fucked the initiative tracker.
They totally did.
What did they do to
I
it?
I
broke
used
it.
to be able to sift through it so I could always show who was at the top of initiative and cycle through. Part of that is I could put in things like turn trackers. So I rolled to see when all of the different other things were coming into this battle. The bear rolled a 1, one of the pods rolled a 2, one of the pods rolled a 3. So it would have been first turn, second turn, third turn, like as stuff kind of wades into the battle. When you cast stuff that takes time, I usually put like a concentration tracker or just a time tracker on there. There's a lot of different little things, and they basically have turned it into I can now add everything, but it just sits in a stagnant list.
Gotcha.
Over and over again, I am disappointed with Roll20, and I want to switch to Owlbear Rodeo because I love that application. It is very simple, and it does basically nothing more than what I want, and nothing that you don't really want. Alrighty, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 undead inside. I feel like this will go counterclockwise from noon around island is pretty simple. And then we'll do the 2 that are outside in kind of the same fashion. And there's a total of 7. So, and your DC right now on island is 14,
It's
and
15,
it's
I
a
think.
wisdom.
Yeah, I think it's a 15.
Oh wait,
Hold
the
on a second.
bear is dead too. The bear will be separate here.
Yeah, it's a
Oh
15
wait,
save
it
DC.
went upward.
Yeah, it's a 15.
All right, so not a single Zed is going to pass. The bear is not going to seem to be affected, and we are going to see a scattering of creatures as
Awesome.
Best spell ever.
So as Island's doing that, he's gonna say to Jarek, "Why is it always you and me back to back?" And then cast Healing Word on Ball.
and then that should take us to Jack.
Do you catch that Healing Word? I'm going to get Ball up too. Hold on, let me cast that.
You did not roll it yet, though, so.
No, I didn't. It's my bonus action. Here it comes.
So, Vol will start next turn with 11 hit points. What are you going for here, Jack?
So Jarek, as he feels now the claws raking across his back, is, kind of lets out another grunt of pain, turns to slash at this like bear-like quadruped thing that's bearing down on him.
Solid strike into its flesh.
I'm gonna make
I
that
don't
a
think Island is touching it, so I think that is. I don't know. I feel like that actually is sneak attack. Yeah, that's sneak attack.
Yeah, I feel like he can reach me. I can reach him. I'm just not attacking him.
I'm gonna make that a distracting strike as well.
Gotcha. Roll the d8. One more.
And then just slashing out again.
Solid hit for 6 more.
And he's going to like looking back towards Duvall. He's gonna like hang in there, trying to essentially kind of rally him. In a bonus action rally. To give him 5 temporary hit points.
So on D&D Beyond, there's a difference between increase maximum and temporary hit points. If you click on your hit points at the top of your sheet, temporary hit points should be up in the top right next to your maximum hit points, and you can just add 5 there. Temporary hit points always go first, and you can never heal them. And you also can't get them when you're unconscious. So that was a great little order there. But that's going to go to Duvall. You are effectively on the ground prone right now. You drop anything that you were holding, so your Warhammer should be on the ground. You can free action pick it up. You can use half your movement to stand up. You've got this giant yellow plant-like pod that is kind of like gooing all over you, reaching out with these vines, and you can feel where the different vines are starting to like stab into your flesh and almost like pump this toxin into you. What would you like to do to that vine?
That is an interesting question. But if I take half my action standing up,
Not half your action, half your movement.
half my movement. Okay. So I will attempt to. Does it get in a attack of opportunity if I try to stand?
Only if you move away from it.
Okay. So I will stand. I'm at 5 hit points. He gave me back 6 after being
No,
hit.
no, no. You go to 0 hit points. The only time negative hit points matters is if I deal damage that takes you to negative your maximum hit points. If I did 56 damage to you, that is auto kill because that takes all of your hit points and puts you at negative 28.
Okay. Understood. So
But you are at 0 hit points or you are at negative 28 and dead. There's nothing in between. So you would have gained 11 from Island and then 5 from Jarek. But the 5 from Jarek are the temporary.
okay, so with that being said, I will go ahead. He's still trying to feast on me, right? So I'm gonna have to blast him.
Yeah, you guys don't know what these things do when they actually get to kill you. Well, actually, you probably do because you see them walking around trying to attack you.
So I will try to hit him twice with the Eldritch Bolt.
Gotcha. If you stay in combat, it's going to be a disadvantage.
But if I try to get out of combat, he gets an attack of opportunity, correct?
Correct. Yep. Otherwise, you can do something like taking the disengage action to try to put some distance between you. Taking the dodge action is another option, or a lot of things might also just flee, trying to put as much space between them.
Disengage.
Gotcha. So yeah, from there you have half your movement. You can effectively move. What is it? 30 feet or 15 feet rather?
Yeah, 15 feet. Since we're still flying, how about take 15 feet straight in the air?
Most certainly.
Okay, and that's what I'll do. 15 feet straight in the air from where my current location.
Let's see. Zombie is on Vale. It is going to swing and miss, and we are back to. Let's see. That creeper can't get to Vale. Um. Yeah, I think this one's going to do the same thing as it pops another thing of the um the pollen into the air, and I just need another wisdom saving throw from Vale. Gotcha. Um Ooh, I feel like all those zombies leave on their turn, not actually to like immediately when you do it. So I might have done that a little bit too early. But we're gonna go to Vale here. You've got two of these undead creatures, um, more flower than they are flesh. But as you all battle these and put arrows into them, you're starting to sense they have organs and clusters of plant life in places where creatures would have those same things, that these are animals or humans turned into plants. What would Vale like to do?
I am going to disengage and I am going to use movement to fly up. so out of their range. And then I would like to aim an arrow at the plant creature, which I'm kind of taking as controlling these guys.
How high are you going?
Let's say 30 feet.
Alright, so you can go straight up there.
Is that without taking a bonus action to disengage?
No, you can bonus action disengage.
Okay. So if I just fly straight up, then they will get an attack of opportunity, correct?
No, you disengaged. My point is your movement isn't. Oh, fuck it. Just move wherever you want to. It doesn't
Okay,
matter.
well, no. The reason I'm asking is because
I hate that Gygax doesn't have any sense of what a tangent or what a hypotenuse is.
I think maybe what he was saying, like if you move 5 feet south first after disengaging, then you could only fly up 25 feet because you have a
Yes.
total of 30 feet of movement.
okay, but I still require the disengage to avoid an attack of opportunity, even though I'm flying. Is what I was trying to get, right?
Yeah, flying has nothing to do with their ability to attack you.
Okay, I'm flying up 30 feet and I'm firing an arrow.
Anytime you roll, just roll that damage. That's a solid hit into the plant. See like a little bit of a squirt of the oozing flesh, and it seems to kind of seal itself up. Doesn't really seem to be all that damaged from one measly little arrow.
All right.
And theoretically, we are going on to the bear.
Do I feel like it's regenerating or it just wasn't that damaged?
You feel like you took a terrible shot with your arrow. 6 damage is not that much damage. So I think the bear is going to slash out with both attacks at Island. Bite slash. What is that? I think that's a 17 to hit. It's a 19. Should be a solid hit with the slash for 2d6. Total of 15 slashing damage into Island from the flowery bear. And yeah, I think with this group, three more of these creatures are going to be able to close in. For what it is worth, I can get 2 to Jarek and 1 into Island. So first one for Island, next 2 on Jarek. The 12 is a 15. I think that's your AC for a hit.
Yep, that hits.
And that is going to bring the vine down on you for a massive 2 bludgeoning damage. And then you guys are going to see as another one of these creepers kind of focuses in on you. And did I actually reveal that one? Yeah. So it's going to pop. I think it can pollinate, and we'll get to everybody except Forward Vol. But 30 feet up, it's going to be Jarek and Island, I believe. Wisdom saving throw. I wonder if Larry had to go. Usually 7 o'clock is a hard end for him. He's dropped out of the game too. For what it's worth, as you guys take to flight, this whole encounter is going to become a nothingness. So we will end this day here. We will pick up next week with you all moving on to Omu and progress from there.
I gotta say, I completely forgot we could fly as soon as that combat started.
Yeah, I feel like at this point you're going to have Dval and Vale kind of yelling out, "Fly, you fools!" But yeah, it was definitely one of those things that I was waiting to happen. I was waiting to pull Vale out of the tree and see whether the cat decided to land or to fly. Because I thought that was going to be one of the funniest possible occasions. And then I'm like, oh yeah, this thing has a +2 strength versus he's got like a +9 acrobatics, I think.
Yeah, I feel like once Jarek saw them flying up, he'd be like, "Oh shit, that's a good idea." So Jarek in this case is smarter than I was.